So we're here tonight, and we're going to educate the community on flood, evacuation, preparedness, a lot of different topics related to Kelso Valley. And this plan is a draft plan that we've been working on for several months, and the agencies that are here tonight have all had a piece of this to put this into black and white, but it's a draft plan. And hopefully, after this meeting tonight, we can take your questions, concerns, recommendations to the plan and go back and finalize the plan. And it becomes part of the Kern County Emergency Operations Plan. And to kind of take a step back in history, emergency operation plans are nothing new to the county of Kern or any jurisdiction. But in the 60s, it was primarily the Cold War, nuclear war, and earthquakes. But we realized that emergency planning is much more than that. And every community across Kern County has different problems that they could face. And we know up here in the Kern River Valley, we're faced every day during the summer with wildland fires. And then we found out that the dam, Isabella Dam, had problems. And we developed a plan to deal with Isabella Dam and a catastrophic failure that floods portions of the Kern River Valley and all the way into metropolitan Bakersfield. And all the time we're developing these specialized plans, we were developing a new county-wide emergency operations plan. And not every emergency is in that plan because you can't write a plan for every emergency. But the Kelso Valley evacuation plan will be part of our emergency operations plan. And it's very important to the county of Kern that we address areas that become problematic and are brought to our attention. So we've been working diligently on this. A lot of it was being driven by Supervisor Mick Gleason and his staff. So that's why we're here today. This is really the end of our planning process, and now we need some of your input as we present this plan. So, the number one thing that I'm going to start with is preparedness. Now, how many people have been ready for the wildland fires? Show of hands. How many people are ready for the wildland fires up here? And we have those every year. And the Kern River Valley is really good at being ready to evacuate at a moment's notice, to take the large animals, to take your prized possessions, and evacuate your home as a wildland fire is coming through the valley. We're ready for that. That's a common occurrence. But there's these other type of events that we need to be prepared for on a daily basis, because we do not know when the triggering event for this area is going to occur. So preparedness is what I talk about all the time. This is probably not going to be an isolated event. What's going to happen is there's going to be multiple events across Kern County that are going to tax first responders. Now, the one thing that we do have, and the National Weather Service is going to do a presentation, we do have some sort of early warning. In the case of a wildland fire, we don't have early warnings. The fire starts, and as we witnessed this summer, it was in the houses right away. But we will have a little bit of advance notice for this type of event. But there's going to be several events occurring across either the Kern River Valley, Ridgecrest, the Mojave Desert, metropolitan Bakersfield, across Kern County. Could even be widespread into LA County, north of us. And your first responders are going to be responding to emergencies based on the priority. Not necessarily when they come in a 911 call, but we're going to prioritize. We're going to activate the department operations centers for those agencies that are responsible for emergency response. The Sheriff's Department, the Fire Department. That means we're going to have key staff monitoring the situation and making decisions. And the county's Emergency Operations Center will be activated in support of any emergency that starts expanding behind the scope of the first responders that are on scene. So there's going to be a lot of first responders engaged. And what that means is there's not enough first responders to be parked in everybody's driveway, knocking on everybody's door, telling them what to do. That's where you come in. We need your help. So we're going to talk a little bit about preparedness. And these charts will be up here. You can come up and look afterwards and engage the speakers, the experts that are here. But preparedness. Be aware and informed. Tonight you're here. That means you're engaged. You're becoming more aware. You're becoming more informed. But it doesn't end here tonight. When you go home tomorrow, you need to be ready. I don't know when the next storm is going to come through, but it could be soon, and it could be the one. You have to develop a personal evacuation plan. You got to do it now. What would you do if your phone rang right now and it said evacuate? A storm's coming. What would you grab? What would you take? Where would you go? How would you get out? That includes so many different items, so many different thought processes that you will not be able to do when the incident's occurring. It's an emergency, trust me. You have to be prepared. Do you have gas in the car? Do you have a kennel for your dog? It's going to be a time of high stress. You have to be ready. But how do you get those alerts? How do you know what we're doing? Captain Collins mentioned Facebook. We have a very active following in our Kern County Fire Department Facebook, but that's not the primary means of information. Nope, it's Ready Kern. How many people have heard of Ready Kern? Yeah, a lot of people have heard of Ready Kern. That is common terminology, reverse 911, kind of a misnomer. What it is an ability for our dispatch centers, whether it be the Sheriff's Department Dispatch Center or the Fire Department Dispatch Center, to call you and give you emergency information, primarily evacuation or shelter in place. When we bought the system, we bought landline phone numbers. So we know if you have a landline phone, we have that number. But how many people still have that number? How many people have a cell phone that is their primary contact information? How many people have changed their cell phone number in the last year? How many people use text messaging? How many people use emails? That's the beauty of Ready Kern. We have the ability, or actually I should say, you have the ability to manage your Ready Kern account. We have sign-up sheets back here, brochure. You can fill that out, give it to the Office of Emergency Services staff. They'll input it in the system, and you can actually manage your account. If you don't have a landline phone at home, and you operate off a cell phone, you can put that as one of your contacts, your primary contact, and that's what's going to go out. We're going to know how to get a hold of you, to give you that information. And we're going to tell you, you need to shelter in place, or you need to get out. And it's going to be a short message. It's not going to be a long message that you're going to get a lot of information. We're telling you, we have an emergency. You need to get out. You need to get out now, and this is where you need to go. Ready Kern is one of the most fabulous tools that we have bought for emergency response. And we use it up here nearly every day during the summer when we have wildland fires. It's a tool that the Sheriff's Department uses when they need to evacuate people. It's a tool that public health uses when they have problems with water systems and people need to boil their water because it may be contaminated. This is your government contact to give you emergency response information. And the one thing with Ready Kern, we're not going to call you up and say, hey, the Christmas parade is next week. We're not going to use it for that. When you get a call from Ready Kern, it's serious stuff. The last thing about being prepared is when we do have these weather events, monitor National Weather Service. And we're going to have a presentation on what you can do to get information. But there's a lot of different ways the National Weather Service gives that information to provide you with early updates. So it's preparedness. We're here to help you, but you need to take those steps. You need to be prepared so you're ready. Again, there's not enough deputy sheriffs, there's not enough CHP, there's not enough firefighters up here when we have an event that will be on CNN at 5 o'clock. So let's talk about triggering events. Winter weather events that produce rainfall of a duration over the watershed that continues for a substantial period of time. We all know when that storm sits over the Kern River Valley, it just continues to dump water, whether it's a light rain over a long period of time or even the heavier rain. That may be one of the triggering events that causes this plan to be put into place. Rainfall on top of a winter snowpack. Warm rain, snow, instant melt, lots of water moving fast. Your area is not going to be the only area that's going to be impacted up here. The downstream effects are going to be tremendous. There is going to be a lot of first responders engaged in emergency response when we have those type of events. And those fires that I talked about that we had this summer in these areas up here, we had 4 major fires. All of that area is void of any brush, any grass. It's not growing back. The areas above Wofford Heights and Kernville, right now the sand is like glass. It's not going to absorb any water. So there's going to be major flooding over there. We're going to have a lot of first responders in the Kern River Valley. But that one event is one that we really worry about because it can move a lot of water really fast. Localized thunderstorms. We know that we have localized thunderstorms up here and they dump a lot of water really quick. And that's a triggering event where it happens and there's a lot of water moving. Very dangerous. And then we can have any one of these type of events with the failure of the embankments, the berms, and that spreads the water out, causing even more problems. So these are the triggering events that we have identified where we're going to start activating the plan. We've identified several areas in the plan that are of primary concern. Kelso Creek, upstream of Cottonwood Lane. The area between Cottonwood Lane, Trotter Lane, Kelso Creek Road, Kelso Creek Channel. The Powers subdivision, upstream of 178 and Hanning subdivision. We've identified these areas as an area that this plan is going to be put into place. We've identified through maps, working with engineering and permit survey services, National Weather Service, all these agencies, County Water Agency, we've identified these areas as areas that could be impacted by one of these triggering events. We have a lot of maps you can take a look at. But that's how we've built the plan. So again, the number one thing, and I can't stress it enough, is the preparedness part of it. This plan is in black and white. You all should have got a copy of it. But we know what happens. A lot of times people read the plan, put it away, and never think about it again. This is a plan that will save your life. This is a life insurance plan. And I cannot stress it enough that we need your input tonight as we finalize this plan. We need to work together. This is the partnership that your county government, federal government, everybody's working together to make sure you're safe. So I could go through the plan page by page, but I think you have a pretty good overview of it. What's in the plan. And now I'm going to turn it over to the National Weather Service because they're going to tell you a little bit about the triggering events that will lead up to putting the plan in place. Thank you for attending tonight, and we'll be available afterwards to answer your questions.
Well, good evening. Like you said, my name is Steve Mendenhall. I'm with the National Weather Service. Our office is located in Hanford. And I wanted to thank the Kern County Fire Department and also Georgiana Armstrong for inviting me to come here tonight to talk to you about a program that the National Weather Service has to improve your weather resiliency so you can be prepared for weather events. I'm going to call up a slideshow I've got here to present to you tonight. Okay. What I'm going to talk to you about is a program called the Weather Ready Nation Initiative. Essentially, this program was set up across the National Weather Service because we had a problem where no matter how good of a job we were doing getting the word out to people about big weather events that are coming, like thunderstorms, tornadoes, flash floods, hurricanes, it doesn't really do much good if people don't know what to do or know how to respond to it or know any kind of safety rules about the different types of weather events. And so this initiative was designed to work with the first responders, community leaders, and just the general public to have everybody be as prepared as possible to be ready for different types of weather events. So the Weather Ready Nation, NOAA is our parent agency, by the way, for the National Weather Service. It's the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. NOAA's Weather Ready Nation program is there to increase people's resiliency to different types of weather events that can occur. These events can be improved through readiness, and it's why the initiative is so important. And the goal is to support the mission of the National Weather Service to reduce risk against the lives and property being damaged. And the goal is for everybody to make better decisions. And so the slogan for the program is to be a force of nature, to not be reacting to nature so much as being ready for it. And so you can improve your ability to take care of risk by taking action and being an example in your community also. So what is weather resiliency? Well, it's about being aware of your surroundings, but your weather surroundings in this case. So you know what to do for different types of weather events. And this means the following. What are your risks that you have to be aware of? How should you prepare for those events, including know what kind of actions to take? And where can you go to find information about the weather to make good decisions, to be prepared? So in this case, the weather risk we're talking about is the burn scars and the risk of flash flooding. It's ironic that everybody thinks that we're in a drought year, of course. We have been for a few years, but there still is a very strong risk of flooding. It's because of the drought in part, due to all the burn scars from the wildfires that occurred over the past few years. And so the soil now in these burn scars is called hydrophobic, which means it's water-fearing. It repels water, essentially. So rather than absorbing the water like it normally would, it will increase the chance of the water rapidly running off and causing debris flows or rapid flows of water across the area. And it doesn't take very much water to cause a flash flood. As little as 0.2 of an inch of rain in 15 minutes 3/10 in 30 minutes, or a half an inch in only 1 hour are necessary for a flash flood under these kind of conditions. And in fact, that's only about 1/3 of what it normally takes for a flash flood under regular conditions when you do have vegetation on the soil. So that means that the burn scars in the areas downstream are 3 times more prone to flash flooding than normal. Like the chief was saying, there's also other conditions too, such as prolonged periods of rain, rain on snowpack and things like that. But it's these flash flooding situations from very strong cells of thunderstorms that are probably the most worrisome, because they can occur just about any time of a year, especially like during the summer months when you have the monsoon going on. So how can you prepare for a flash flood? Well, one of the things you can do is understand the terminology that we at the National Weather Service use. We have watches and warnings. I'll talk about those in a minute. There's also flash flood safety rules you should be aware of. Plan ahead, like the chief said, know a route, how to get out of the area and get to higher ground if possible. And also just keep informed about the weather as much as possible, especially when one of these events is occurring. So we're talking about a watch versus a warning. A flash flood watch is a term the Weather Service uses to talk about favorable conditions for flash flooding and debris flows, but the certainty still is not high. These are issued in advance of an event to give you a heads up what might be coming. It's not saying there's going to be flash flooding, but the potential is there. So what should you do at that point? Well, you should watch the weather more closely to see if anything develops, and also be ready to take action if a warning is issued, or if you actually observe some kind of flooding or debris flows occurring. So don't wait for a warning. If you see something happening, try to take action immediately if you can. Now, a flash flood warning is issued when we do have flooding or debris flows occurring, or we expect it to be imminent, like an approaching thunderstorm cell, for example. And we issue these via what's called the emergency alert system. I'm sure a lot of you have seen the emergency alert system in action before. You see the weekly tests that go on TV and radio. You've probably seen on a few occasions we put a thunderstorm warning, for example, as a crawler message on TV with a voiceover. That's controlled by our weather radio system. It's called the emergency alert system. And also there's a new feature that began within the last couple of years called the wireless emergency alert. And I'll talk about that a little bit too. And this has to do with getting text messages on your wireless device, such as a cell phone or a smartphone. And when you have a flash flood warning out, you should take immediate action and follow the flash flood safety rules. Now, the flash flood safety rules are, of course, get out of the area where you're in the floodplain. You go to a higher ground as soon as possible. Also, one thing is to not go through moving water. It only takes 6 inches of water to sweep somebody off of their feet. So don't take your chances walking through moving water. Also, don't drive through moving water. The slogan for that is to turn around, don't drown. 6 inches of water is enough to reach the bottom of most cars, and that can cause stalling or even loss of control for smaller vehicles. 1 foot of water will float most vehicles, and 2 feet of water will carry most vehicles, including SUVs and pickup trucks. And there's more information about flood safety rules at floodsafety.noaa.gov. And I had a handout in the back there with all these websites I'm referring to and things. So you can take that home with you and read up more about it later on if you want to. Now, where can you find weather information? Well, the National Weather Service is open 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. We never close because the weather never stops. We always have at least 2 people on around the clock at our forecast office in Hanford, always issuing new updates to the products and services we do. Our website is listed right there. It's a simple one to remember, weather.gov/Hanford. You can just remember weather.gov and jump to our site from across the country very easily too. And there's also a mobile version. We don't have an app, but we have a mobile version of our website too. It's just mobile.weather.gov. I'll demonstrate both of these in a few minutes here. We're also on social media. That's our addresses. It's just the usual facebook.com with the slant NWS Hanford. And the same thing for twitter.com. Our call sign is @NWS Hanford. Another source of information about the weather is NOAA Weather Radio. That's a dedicated radio broadcast to nothing but weather, and it runs 24 hours a day. And also your mobile devices can pick up the wireless emergency alerts, as I said before. I'm going to take a little break right here during this presentation to show you our website. And I've got it bookmarked here on the screen. Okay, this is our website, the National Weather Service in Hanford. And essentially, it's a very simple thing to work with. You see a map of our part of California, and of course, Kern County is right down here. And you can click anywhere in this map and get a forecast for any one of more than 10,000 different data points we keep on our system. And so if we went into the area by, say, Weldon, you can either just click on the map and navigate to it, or we actually have some cities here available. And one of them is Weldon, that we keep bookmarked down here. And this gives you the forecast for Weldon over the next 7 days. And we give you the closest observation point, which is the one at the Isabella Dam, operated by the Corps of Engineers. And so it has the current conditions as well as the forecast. And you can see on the map that comes up that this is the data point right here. And you can click anywhere else in this map, zoom it in, move it around to get where you actually live, rather than right at the center of the city of Weldon itself. Going back to the previous page, you'll notice on the map there's some colors on there. We don't have very much going on in the area right now, but you see this kind of a pink color right here. There's actually a red flag warning. It's in effect to the south of Kern County and Los Angeles County. And if we had, say, like a flash flood warning, you would see colors on this map where the warning is in effect, or a flash flood watch. Could be a fire weather type of a warning. It could be a winter storm warning. Almost any kind of a watch warning or advisory will be on this map in color to tell you if your area is under some kind of an advisory at the time. And you can either click on the map to get the information, or actually just call it up by clicking on the actual name right there. And this is the red flag warning that's issued right now down to the south of us in the San Fernando Valley. It shows right here. So it's pretty easy to navigate to. Also on our webpage, down at the bottom below it, there is the Hanford and also the Edwards Air Force Base radar pages. For example, if you went to the Edwards Air Force Base page, which shows a better coverage actually to the southeast of our area, including the Kern County Desert and surrounding mountains, you'll be able to see the latest radar information, and you could actually loop this information to see what the radar cells are doing and if any kind of a storm is moving into your area. And on our page also is a number of other things that are available. You can get past information on storm events, climatological studies, all kinds of things about the area that are available on our website. The mobile version of our page, like I said before, is mobile.weather.gov. It's very simple to work with. What is the zip code for Weldon? 93283. Okay, 93283. You either type that in or put in Weldon, California. Just click on Go. And this is optimized to fit on your cell phone better. And it'll give you the forecast for the next 24 hours. And then there's jumping off points here too, so you can also see the radar, satellite images, a thing called the forecast discussion, which is kind of interesting because it's the meteorologists at our office talking about the weather, what they're writing the forecast about. They might talk about the potential for an upcoming storm to produce a lot of rain. They might talk about how certain they are that we're going to be getting rain across the area. And there's just all kinds of other information like that that's on there. And you can even, if you wanted to, send a tweet out from there of something you're observing as far as the weather is occurring in your area, if you observe flash flooding, for example. Our Facebook page. Has always got the most recent information going on across the area too. This is a few information messages that came out earlier. This is looking down toward Bakersfield from Bear Valley, for example. You can see the inversion layer with the air pollution and the fog down at this morning. This is what the fog was looking like on one of our models this morning. We had it down on the Hanford area. The likelihood of an above normal record-setting temperatures across the state of California in general. If we have a storm coming in, we'll put all kinds of information about the current storms that are occurring too. On Twitter, this to me is almost like you have almost an instant news feed that's going on across the area too. We will update this almost every minute or two with the latest information about reports we're getting on rainfall, flash flooding and things like that. And we've had, you can go back to the history on this and look at the most recent storms that moved across the area on Halloween and November 1st and see what we're getting as far as reports and information we're sending out to the public, almost minute by minute in some cases. So these are all the sources that we have for you to get from your home at any time. Now back to our presentation here. I wanted to follow up with a NOAA weather radio is broadcast, like I said before, it's dedicated to weather 24 hours a day. The local transmitter, and this is on your handouts too, is 162.55 megahertz. And it's from a tower on top of Shirley Peak. One thing about this type of radio, though, is because it's a special kind of radio, you have to buy a special radio to receive it. And they run between about $20 and $60, but they're available at a lot of the different electronic stores, like say Radio Shack, something like that. And there's a vendor list on there of other places that sell weather radio besides Radio Shack. And one thing that's nice about these radios is they are the way we activate the emergency alert system. And the minute a warning goes out on a weather radio, if you have a weather radio at home and you have it in standby mode and you've programmed it to turn itself on for flash flood warnings, it'll immediately do so. And you'll get a loud tone alarm, and you get a message start playing immediately to wake you up if you're asleep at night, telling you there's a flash flood warning in your area. And you get the whole message on there. It's just one more redundancy to have. Like with the current alert, with the text messaging, weather radio is another way to get the instant messaging. The wireless emergency alerts, like I said before, are a way that we can send messages out and text to your cell phones. And kind of like current alert, we don't send these out for every little thing that happens. There's only very specific things, such as a dust storm warning, a flash flood warning, a tornado warning. You might have seen Amber Alerts also on your cell phones from time to time. It's in the same system called a wireless emergency alert. And this is what a sample message would look like. It's very brief. It just says the flash flood warning in effect until a certain time. Avoid the flood areas, and then check your local media to get updates. More than likely, if we have something going on like this, it's going to be on TV and radio stations as well. So you can tune to them to get up-to-date information for them as well. And more information is on a website right there. And one thing too is if you have any kind of like a flash flood watch in your area and you're set up for the wireless emergency alerts, it's a good idea to turn your phone on and turn the volume up on. Don't have it muted or turned off so you can get those messages when they come in. Now this whole presentation is available in a PDF file if you want to look at it, and this is the address for it right there. I couldn't make this while I had the presentation until I actually uploaded it and made a shorter address for it. So I'm going to jot that address down on the back of your handout. It's just go.usa.gov, and then it has to be a 7 with a capital M, capital G, and that's the address for the presentation. So you can read the whole thing and get more information on it later on.